Welcome into part 2 of the Week 9 preview. Looking at 4 more games in today's video. Brian, we're 8 weeks into the fantasy regular season, over halfway through. I think I asked you this a few weeks ago, at least 3 weeks ago or so, like maybe your biggest miss of the year. I always say mine is every time I read off his stats on the recap show is Travis Etienne. The dude's been a monster this year. Anyone come to mind in terms of like someone you were kind of low on that you missed on?
I think Etienne was my answer those weeks ago, and he's continued to do it too. Like, obviously he's not going to get 2 touchdowns every week and stuff, but he obviously doesn't need 2 touchdowns to be awesome. So he's a tough one tough pill to swallow, I guess, like where you took him. I'm trying to remember like draft order and everything like that. Like, I felt like a lot of guys have kind of like sort of fallen into place more or less. I always feel like the 3rd and 4th rounds are like the ones that like really screw me.
Yeah, I need to trust myself more. I'd say it every year. And 2 guys that come to mind are Ridley and Dameon Pierce, where I just wasn't very high on them. And I think I let preseason. I need to ignore preseason a little bit more, I think. I feel like that kind of swayed me a bit. Especially with Dameon Pierce. Like, holy crap, they're not even using him. Like, they're protecting him. And then when he was in there, he had everything. And then they just haven't done that at all this year. So, yeah, that sucks. But
yeah, I wonder if there's a lesson to be learned there. Like, as far as like, new quarterback, new system kind of a thing. I don't know. Like, the Houston Texans, like their identity is like not what we thought it was going to be necessarily. I was definitely not a Pierce guy. But I guess the only reason I even really like knew who he was because of Dynasty for the most part. Not that he wasn't good last year, but it was like he was good enough to where he would like he got drafted late enough to where it was like he was kind of a good gem, and he wasn't on my team, so I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to him.
Yeah, no, that's it's a good lesson to learn, like late round rookie, new system and stuff like that. So gotta be wary of that type of stuff. Anyways, we're gonna go over 4 games, just kind of start sits and stuff like that, always from a half PPR point of view, unless we want to mention the other stuff. And we're just gonna get right into it with the Rams at the Packers. Yet another backup quarterback playing with the Rams, most likely, at least it's not official. Over under 38.5. Packers are favored by 3. Weirdly enough, I still think the Rams win this game. I don't know. I just think I believe in McVay a little bit. They have good playmakers, better than I think the Packers have. And their defense has been like feisty this year, even though they're not super talented in terms of who's on their team. Like, I still think they pull it out. But in terms of the starters here, let's just assume Stafford's not going to play because it makes the most sense with their bye week coming up. I'm still starting Puka and Cooper Kupp. I don't know how you would feel, Brian, if you had them. They're just too good for me to not start them. And I think McVay can get Ripien. I think it's Ripien. He can get him to like 200 yards and a touchdown, and I think both can be successful with that. They both get 80 yards, and one of them gets 100, and one of them catches a touchdown or something. Like, how are you feeling with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua?
Yeah, I think Kupp is like definitely must start. I thought it was kind of funny that you're talking about Brett Ripien or Rippin. Yeah, I think it is Rippin. Because I was like, don't they have a rookie? And I started looking him up right now. He's not going to play. They said like he's not coming back for the whole season. So I don't know, man. Puka, it's a tough one. Like, I know we talked a lot about Addison, probably similar situation in the last video. So, like, as far as like, I guess like Brett Rippin isn't a rookie though. So He played for the Broncos for a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not super excited about it. I think Puka, he's a hard one to get away from, but maybe not because you probably got him off the waiver wire. So maybe you can sit him. I'm not gonna. He might be one of those guys where it's like you're gonna be really sad if he goes off or does exactly what he's done basically all year on your bench. So you're gonna have to like kind of make that decision all on your own. But we've seen the chink in the armor kind of a thing, like 2 out of the last 3 games, like 6 or less points, So it's definitely not impossible for him to have a bad game, but the dude's awesome. So tough one to bench for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not benching him. I'm putting him out there and not even worrying about it. Like, again, I think about like what McVay did with Baker Mayfield. Obviously, Mayfield's better than Rippon, but he also came in like to a whole new system too. You got to take that into account. Like, at least Brett Rippon's been there all off season and knows the system, So like, I feel like when you factor that in, it kind of evens out almost like the talent level to versus knowing the system. And I just think he can still offensively, they're still going to be able to move the ball. Not really afraid of this Packers defense. They just traded one of their better cornerbacks to the Bills. So I'm still in on those guys for sure.
Yeah. I know the Packers are really bad against the run too. So that could factor into that decision as far as like, well, like if they can just run the ball with Henderson and Royce Freeman, yeah, like maybe that's how. I really do think like this game is going to be like ball control and not very high scoring. Well, I guess the over under Vegas thinks that too. So
yeah, 38 and a half. Yeah, with the running backs, it is interesting because like. You ask anyone, they say, Henderson, for sure, Henderson. But it's like they're literally splitting drives. Like, you get this drive, you get this drive. And like I mentioned that after week 1, I was like, don't be surprised if like Royce Freeman has a better game than Henderson next week. And I don't think he quite did because I think Henderson had a little bit more, a couple catches or something. But Freeman did get the touchdown. He did better in half PPR than Henderson. So to me, yeah, I'm fine with starting Henderson this week because the matchup, they could run the ball a little bit more and rely on that, like you said. Like, and I'm kind of also like, if you're desperate and Royce Freeman sitting out there, like I think I'd start him over guys like Devin Singletary.
I think either one are like basically desperation flexes that you can start as your number 2 running back if your guys are on a bye, because they'll probably either one of them will get you 10 half PPR points kind of a thing. So I don't know. I'm not excited to start either one of them, but in desperation, yeah, like you said, like especially because like one of them might still be sitting on your waiver wire, it's probably Royce Freeman, if anybody. So yeah, I could totally see that. Like, you're not going to be happy with that, but it's definitely an out when 4 teams are on by.
I think I might lean Royce Freeman over Amari DiMercato against that matchup. Like, I don't know. Like, I think Mercado gets Cleveland with Clayton Tune as your quarterback. Like, I know. I trust Brett Rippon way more in McVay's offense than I do Clayton Tune with the Cardinals, Like, I do. Like,
you trust Brett Rippon.
Well, he's not a rookie. And, like, I'm just telling you, like, McVay's a good coach. Like, and he just, brought in Baker Mayfield last year and made him look decent, Like,
yeah.
And again, they have playmakers. So I think they can move the ball. I don't know. I wouldn't feel. I don't think it's that crazy to say like if you look at Fantasy Pros, like they have Darrell Henderson over DiMercato like by 6 spots or something, and we just talked about like they're basically these guys are splitting drives, So I don't think it's that crazy to start Freeman over Henderson.
Yeah, maybe
Or
not.
Freeman over DeMarcado. So I don't know. I think it's like you said, if he's out there, I'd maybe scoop him up if you need a spot start this week. Yeah, no one else really to talk about on the Rams. With the Packers, it's so tough. Like,
yeah, dude, this is it's so weird. It's so weird. Like, I feel like Aaron Jones is a set. AJ Dillon is a set. Like, man, Aaron Jones, it's like, dude, he's obviously not healthy. He's still logging limited practices this week. You know, we're 3 weeks out from the bye at this point. Like, it's kind of like, you know, their offense just looks lethargic. You know, like they can't get anything going, which makes me kind of nervous for my parlay bet that I made that involves the Packers winning.
Straight up.
No, -3 actually for Packers. Just because Stafford's not going to be there, kind of a thing. So it's like, maybe they can control the game. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in it, but it made the payout way better. So, like, whatever. But I just feel like you kind of have to sit those guys. Like, when it comes to the receivers, like, I guess I shouldn't blow past that. Like, what do you think about the running backs?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of there with you. Like, I definitely, you know how I feel about AJ Dillon, but honestly, like at this point, he might be the better play, like over Aaron Jones. You know, like I don't want to start Aaron Jones, like you said, until I see a full practice. I don't think I want to start Aaron Jones, or either that, or I see a game in which he does something. You know, like it's tough. Like 7 carries, 8 carries the last 2 weeks, 4 catches, 3 catches, like just not doing it. So, I mean, how far would you go down the list of guys starting? Like Zach Moss, would you start him over Aaron Jones, who's had? I mean, Zach Moss is down to 40%, I believe, of snap share, and
it's all right. He's still getting it done. He's scoring points, so yeah, I'd start Zach Moss over Aaron Jones.
But I mean, if you follow the trend, though, the trend is does that go even further? Like,
yeah, it might. Go to
30%.
He has a killer matchup though too against Carolina. So I don't know. I think we said it about Zach Moss a couple of weeks ago, like when Taylor first came back, or after the first game Taylor came back. It was kind of like he's still playing, like they're still using him. And he's still getting it done. Like, granted, it's a little fluky. Like, you can't necessarily count on him getting the touchdown and everything like that. But, like, I mean, the guy's involved, and the matchup is nice. So, yeah, I'm starting Zach Moss over Aaron Jones. And I don't know what the hell I just said right now.
Rams guys?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not going that far.
I think I would.
Oh, man.
He's not playing. Like,
I know. That's tough.
He's not playing, or he's not healthy. Like, I don't know. I think I just would start him.
Well, there's guys below the Rams guys I would definitely start.
Jerome Ford, Brian Robinson.
Yes. Najee, Kareem Hunt. I know Najee already played.
Madison.
Madison is where it gets. I'd start.
Yeah, I'd start Jones.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the line right there.
Yeah, I'd start Jones. And just because I say the Rams guys, because I think their run game's actually been good, whether it's been Kyron Williams or these guys, Henderson and Freeman. And I think they could lean on it a little bit more. The Packers' run defense sucks. So I can see both of them getting like 15 carries and potentially having good games. So, yeah, I think the line is Madison, DeMarcado, Foreman.
Yeah.
Even, Damian Pierce. So, yeah, it's tough with those. AJ Dillon, I don't.
Man, I was just going to say, if he's limited all week, I think I'd start a lot of those guys over Aaron Jones, honestly. Like, man, that's tough. Monitor those practice reports. I mean, we've already got 2 limited, so I don't like it. I don't like it. It's a hamstring too, soft tissue, so it's not getting any better.
Yeah, it's not. And then these receivers, I really just want to avoid. Like, there's just no one really standing out. Like, if you had to choose a Packers receiver, who would you choose between Watson, Dobbs, and Jaden Reed?
Probably Watson for the big play potential. I think Dobbs is safer because he's drawing a little bit more target share, and that's not even exactly true. Like, now that I'm looking at it, like, I don't know, it's tough, man. Like, Jordan Love, like, I was actually kind of surprised, like as I'm like looking at all this, like, he hasn't thrown for 260 yards the entire year. Granted, he does have 259. That was a very selective stat, you know, but like 259, but like only half his games over 200 basically.
His completion percentage is like the worst in the NFL too.
Yeah, it's not looking good, you know, like he was definitely bolstered by touchdowns early on, and we knew that would come back down, you know. I don't know. It's just kind of tough. Like, it's tough to bank on a receiver if there's no clear-cut number one guy on a team that's not passing that well, you know. And, like, obviously the run game is not being established like we just went over. So it's tough, man. It's real tough. Like, if you have one of those guys, like, I'd say flex at best, like, you know, 3 receiver leagues, like, you're probably starting one of them, but you're not happy about it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I'd probably lean Dobbs out of everyone just because he's also catching touchdowns. Like, he has 5 touchdowns on the year, which is really good. So, yeah, I really don't want to start any of them. And Jordan Love, like, it is a tough quarterback week. So, like, I could say, like, Jordan Love versus Geno Smith against Baltimore. Who would you start there?
Yeah, I think we did talk about that one in the last video too. Man, like, and I think I might have said Love, but now that I'm digging into it, like, I don't know. What's that?
No, just, yeah, go ahead. You're digging into it, and
yeah. Like, I think I'd rather start Geno.
Yeah, that is a tough one. It really is a coin flip. Like, I don't know. Avoid Love if you can, but if you're talking about Love versus like Bryce Young or Daniel Jones or Mac Jones, like, you're obviously starting Love just because he's still actually. Although the last week, you wouldn't start.
I think Daniel Jones over Love, not Bryce Young though.
Yeah, Jones is yeah, he's a hard one.
Just the rushing floor, like, brings him up, you know, like, he's finally fully participating in practice. Like, I don't know. Like, I know the Giants, have they even thrown a touchdown this year? Like, he probably has, but like, or
yeah,
Tyrod Taylor did, but still. Yeah, no,
Jones has 2, all right? He has 2 against the Cardinals.
My bad.
Yeah, he has not looked good. And no Waller either. So I'd probably just lean Love. Love has a little bit of a rushing floor. Like, maybe not a floor, but he has rushing potential.
It's true.
Yeah, he's had 34, 21, 37 the last 3 games. So, yeah, but avoid him if you can. We'll move on from this game. Talk about the Bucs at the Texans. The over-under here is 40. Texans are favored by 2.5, maybe mostly being at home, but I thought that was a little shocking. You know, with Baker, I think he's actually a solid play this week if you're looking for a streamer. You know, like, did we talk about Love versus Baker? Like, what would you do there?
We talked about Geno versus Baker. Yeah, and I think we had Baker above Geno even. So yeah, like, yeah, Baker over both those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, he's put up good points. The Houston's not a defense you should be worried about at all. So I think, yeah, he has good guys to throw to. So he's a fine streamer this week. The receivers, I think Evans you have to start in basically all leagues. Godwin, I think probably in most leagues as well. Like, unless you're kind of stacked, most 2 wide receiver in a flex league. Definitely all 3 wide receiver leagues. And then Rachaad White, I think, is kind of a must start. Like, he's been playing well. I like how they're using him. Like, to me, if they're going to continue to use him this way, he's a top 15 running back, you know?
Yeah. Definitely if they keep throwing him the ball. Like, I mean, you know, 17 targets in the last 3 games. Like, that's awesome. About 150 receiving yards, like, in those 3 games too. Like, that's awesome. Like, very inefficient on the ground. Like, they're still not getting anything done there. So that's worrisome. But yeah, like, I think if they keep him involved in the passing game, which we knew, like, we saw that last year, like when he was kind of taking over for Fournette, like, he was involved in the passing game just like Fournette was. So yeah, I don't think you're getting away from Rachaad White. Like, you're not super excited about him. I don't think he quite has like running back 1 potential necessarily, but I think the possibility is there, like on a crazy week where he gets 2 touchdowns, but it'll take that to make him as a top 12 guy, I think.
I think if they continue to use him this way, I think he's a top 15 running back the rest of the year. Just because I don't really care what he gives me on the ground. Like, give me 30 yards. If you're giving me 7 catches, like, you're probably going to get 50, 60 yards and then the occasional touchdown. So, yeah, I think he's locking him in as a starter. Houston, I think Houston was like the team to run against last year. They're still not that great this year, but they're not like terrible. So they're nothing really. They're not in that either. You have to be like, the matchups really don't matter unless you're like top 3 in either category, like worst or best. That's when you start to really talk about it. So I think, he's a must start. Did you want anything on the receivers on the Bucs side for you? Were you kind of in agreement?
No, I think they're both like basically high end number 3. Like, Evans, you can make the case for like low end number 2 guys. I think they're both like basically must starts. Like, with like, they have the upside. Like, we've seen what these guys can do if the game goes their way, kind of a thing. Like, so yeah, you're firing them both up.
Yeah, I think Houston has been pretty bad against the pass. Oh no, 3rd fewest to wide receivers.
Oh, that's kind of surprising. I thought I thought people would have thrown a little bit more to. It seems like maybe they started off this way a little bit more, and Stroud kind of like dazzled us a little bit with his multi-touchdown games like early on. But yeah, like, I mean, the Houston offense seems to be cooking pretty good. Like, they're not lighting it up necessarily, but they're definitely a lot better than we thought they were.
Yeah, looking at the matchups though, they're not. I think it's a little skewed. They played Baltimore week 1. You're not like, there's, Zay Flowers is nice, but he's not this amazing receiver. They got the Colts week 2 with Anthony Richardson. We know about Richardson.
Yeah, Jacksonville's been struggling.
Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, New Orleans, Carolina. Like, so,
sure. Yeah,
could be skewed a bit. So this will be a good game because you got 2 really good. You got an offense that basically rolls through 2 receivers, and that's basically it. I mean, and the running back too.
Concentrated target shares, and like, well, I mean, it might be 3 receivers with Rachaad White if he stays in that same range, but that's okay. That's okay. That's 25 passes right there, and Baker will throw 35. So
yeah. Texans, we just talked about them a little bit with like, are we worried about Stroud? It's like they're figuring him out a little bit. Like, that does tend to happen with rookies, but like, to you, is he kind of like a top 10, top 12 guy this week with, the bye weeks and stuff?
Well, tell me where Tampa Bay ranks in run defense, because I know like in the past they were pretty good, and I don't know if that's
pretty good again this year.
They're probably in the top 3rd, like top 11-ish, like
fifth.
Oh wow,
strongest. So
I guess that kind of answers that question. Like, I think that the Texans are probably going to have to pass to keep up, kind of a thing, or not necessarily to keep up, but to beat the Bucs, kind of a thing. That might be like where they attack them. So yeah, I'll start Stroud. I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, it felt like last week that they came out and said, like, we want to run the ball. We want to start running the ball. And Carolina is a terrible matchup for running backs. And they kind of had this game plan, like, we're going to run the ball 30 times. And they did. And it didn't really pan out. So, Yeah, I'm fine with Stroud. Like, I'd do Stroud over guys like Howell against New England.
Yeah.
I don't know, Stroud or Carr against Chicago. I think that's an interesting one there. Carr's thrown the ball 50 times 2 of the last 3 weeks. Would you go
Yeah, but
Carr or
Chicago's so bad against the run though too. Like,
yeah?
but I guess New Orleans hasn't really established like a super great run game. Like they're kind of beating them through. Like they're running through the air with Alvin Kamara getting like 75 targets every game. So, yeah, I don't know. But I think hasn't Carr thrown for 300 yards in like 4 out of the last 5 games or something? Like, what is this? I'm pulling this up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning Carr, I think. Oh no, it's only 3 out of 3. The last 3. Yeah. I thought this streak was going for a little bit longer.
I mean, he has 4 straight games of at least 15 points, 3 of 17 or more. So I think I lean Carr there, just like a little more safety.
I know I just said Carr, but I'm going to go Stroud.
Yeah, it's just tough. Like with quarterback, like you need 15 points almost to win. Like that's where I like. Okay, at least I can bank on Carr giving me 15. You know, especially against the Bears. So, but they might not have to throw. So then, are you high on like Nico Collins? To me, he's like a top 20 guy.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a little bit of early season Nico Collins than what we've seen necessarily in the past few games. I mean, he's still out there. You know, like we talked about last week was a little weird. The 2 previous games weren't great, but I mean, one of them didn't kill you with him getting 10 half PPR points, basically. I don't know. I feel like he still is the dude on this team. Like he's going to be the number 1 target. I hope that's true. Like I think this week is going to be very telling for that. I think, you know, they're still spreading it around a little bit. But yeah, like it'll be interesting to see what happens this week with Dell fully healthy and old man Robert Woods. So he's actually doubtful for the game.
No, it's
that's right.
Noah Brown that they're throwing. What's weird with Collins is, and it's been like this all year long, he's not running as many routes as these other guys, as like Noah Brown or Robert Woods. Like he was 3rd in routes run for receivers last week. Not by much, but I think he's like 22 to Noah Brown's like 23 or whatever. But still, he's out there for me, almost no questions. Tank Dell, even like I think in 3 wide receiver leagues, I want to throw him out there just because of the matchup, and I think there could be a little bit of a bounce back. We played poorly last week, so I kind of want to throw him out there just for the potential. But I'm fine with also sitting him if you have someone better. So
yeah.
I mean, I'd start him over guys like I'd start him over Addison. I think Rashee Rice, definitely the Packers guys, just for the
what about Marquise?
Potential. Yeah, I would. I'm just afraid of that matchup. Really am. Would I be shocked if Marquise Brown has better numbers? No, but like I'm not expecting Marquise Brown to get much more than like 50 or 60 yards receiving. So
yeah, interesting. I think I'd start all those guys over Dell, but it is close for sure. Like I think I would start Addison, Rice, Christian Watson, and Marquise Brown all over Tank Dell.
Yeah, maybe Rice. Rice is like the only one that I would think about. I think, I just mostly because I think it's going to be a big bounce back game for him. So,
yep.
And like you said, if you can't, they're not going to really be able to run against Tampa. So, but we'll move on from that. Dalton Schultz, I think if you have him, you're starting him. Like he's the top 10 guy for me. So.
We didn't talk about the running backs. Are we just not starting them?
Screw him. No, I guess we should. Dameon Pierce. I don't want to start him. I don't want to start either one. Like, I'd start Royce Freeman over Dameon Pierce. I really would.
Pierce, like, there's no involvement in the pass game, basically, for the last 4 games, and even before then, like he was getting 3 catches or 3 targets anyways in the first 3 games of the year. But it's just kind of like, I don't know, like Singletary's like playing a lot more than he was, and not that he's necessarily looked good, but it's enough to where, because either one of them have really looked good, it's kind of like it might just be a 2-headed monster kind of back there, like, and neither one of them are any good, like, because that's just not the way the offense is running right now. It's not running through the run game.
No, and they came out and said we want to, they got Devin Singletary more involved before the bye, and they said, and where Dameon Pierce in a close game played 33% of the snaps, and then D'Amico Ryans, the head coach, said, yeah, we want to get both these guys involved. Came out of the bye, and Dameon Pierce played 43% of the snaps. Like, I don't want to start him. Like, Royce Freeman to me is more of a guarantee in terms of like his touches. Even AJ Dillon, I might start AJ Dillon over Dameon Pierce with like a hobbled.
That is the alarm for all the listeners right there. Yeah. Like, Micah saying start AJ Dillon over anybody. Like,
yeah,
that's worrisome.
I know. Obviously, DeMarcado, Foreman, I'd definitely start over him. So, I don't know. Are you in the same boat, or are you a little bit higher on them? Like,
no, I'm definitely not higher. So, we can move on.
Yeah, it's tough. Just wait and see. I wouldn't drop either one, but just kind of wait and see what they do this week. So, Commanders at the Patriots. Sam Howell, probably maybe a decent streamer this week. The matchup scares me a bit, but like Sam Howell or Derek Carr. Who are you going?
Carr.
Yeah, I agree. It's Carr again. Like, you don't want to lose your week because of your quarterback. Just go with Carr. He'll give you 15 at least. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Sam Howell or Gardner Minshew?
Sam Howell. Yeah, Sam Howell.
Okay.
I had to think about the matchup real quick because they're playing Carolina. Indians.
Yeah. Howell or Geno against
Howell.
Baltimore. Yeah.
Howell. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's probably starting for most people.
Yeah, low end starter, like you're streaming him kind of a thing, Not a whole lot to say there.
With Brian Robinson, like, where are we at with him? He's been obviously started off the year really well. He's still being involved, like 18, 19 carry. Or no, sorry, I was looking at week 1 and 2. Not as involved. 50% of the snaps, 8, 10 carries. Like, he's another guy. Yeah, like, I think the game's gonna be close, and like, I think it's gonna be a favorable like game script for him. So I'm fine, like, him as like a low end RB2. Like, I'd start him over Madison. I'd start him over DeMarcado. Obviously Pierce. Like, I'd go there. Are you there with me, or?
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like Madison has more guaranteed touches. DeMarcado does too. I don't know if that's exactly true. I'm just kind of like looking at like his involvement. Like, I think, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think the game's going to be close, and honestly, I think that really does affect how Brian Robinson is used. Man. Yeah, I think I'd start those other 2 guys over him.
Ooh, Madison and Mercado?
Yeah.
Man, that DeMarcado matchup, though, again, I keep saying with Clayton too.
I know.
Like, they need to be able to move the ball through the air in order for Mercado to be successful on the ground,
I think like, either one of those guys are gonna run the ball more than Brian Robinson this week.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with that. It's just, what's that going to mean for Like, DeMarcado had 20 carries last week and turned into 78 yards. That could be, and that was with like at least Josh Dobbs being able to move an offense,
Yeah, I just don't really care. Like, I don't think the New England matchup's much. Like, I think it's worse, but not like terribly worse, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or sorry,
No,
I think it's better. Yeah, you know.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, not as bad.
Yeah. McLaurin, I'm starting. Logan Thomas, I'm starting if he's your tight end. Like, he's been very good this year. He's top 10 guy, I believe.
Yeah, some of that happened, right?
What's that?
I said, yeah, somehow that happened, right? Like Logan Thomas, like he's actually stayed healthy, you know, like, and so that's all it really took for him to be relevant. You know, like we've seen him be involved the last few years, like when he's around, but he just hasn't been around. And yeah, good for you for getting him off the waivers because no one drafted him before the 15th round.
Yeah. In Dotson, I'm pretty high on, especially if Curtis Samuel's out. If Curtis Samuel's in there, I'm lower on Dotson because that's why a big reason why Dotson had big games because Curtis Samuel got hurt. He's been taking a lot of targets and stuff. So if it's just like Dotson and McLaurin out there, as in terms of the receivers, I know Jamison Crowder had a big game, which was funny, but I'm kind of high on Dotson this week. Like if you need that, like if you're in a tough bye week spot and you need a little bit of potential of like this is a guy that everyone was high on. Took 8 weeks for him to do something. But like that talent that we were all high on him on was still there, right? Like we assume. So I think it's a little easier to buy into these guys than it is, a random guy going off for 100 yards and a touchdown and, a guy that we weren't high on going into the year. So like I'd start him. Like I'd start him over like Rashee Rice and the Packers guys, Michael Thomas, Marquise Brown, Demario Douglas. I'd start him over, I think. So I have him as like a pretty comfortable wide receiver 3.
Yeah. Hard to disagree with it for sure. Like, I mean, he's playing a lot, he's had a really good target share this last couple of weeks. So yeah, you could definitely do worse.
Yeah. But if Samuel plays, then I think I'm going to try and pivot to those guys, most of those guys. So, Logan Thomas, like we said, is a starter. So anything else with the Commanders? We'll move on to what should be quick with the Patriots.
Yeah, let's go quick with Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still starting Ramondre. If they just throw him the damn ball, they do well when they throw him the ball. I'm still starting him, like especially this week. So I'm not even really going to talk about him unless you have something to say. It's Demario Douglas. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's funny, like because the way I said no, it's like, yeah, I kind of have something to say. I guess, like, I don't know, man. Like, you're definitely starting Ramondre Stevenson, but like, it's funny because I think it was 3 weeks ago where we're like, if he doesn't have a good game this week, like, you're not dropping him, but are you just like benching him like until you actually see it? And then he did have a good game or a decent enough game, like. And then since then, it's been like a little worse, and it's kind of like, man, like fucking Ramondre Stevenson.
Well, it's not. It's the offense.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, he's part of the offense, so I'm gonna blame him.
But it's the philosophy and the whole offense just sucks. Like
Mike obviously really likes Ramondre Stevenson. I don't blame him because.
Well, I don't know how you're getting off of him. I guess is my point.
Like, yeah, I really don't think you are. But all right, I said.
And all that being said, like we can say all we want, he's still a top 24 running back this year. Like
yeah,
and he's had 4 good weeks for half PPR and 4 down weeks. Like. That's just kind of how it is. If they throw him the ball, he's going to have a good week. So I just don't know how, unless you're loaded at, unless you have a bunch of later round guys that you got. To me, he's in pretty easy top 20 guy, and it should be a good matchup. Again, like Washington's defense was already bad and they just got rid of maybe their 2 best players. Like, yeah. I don't think it takes too much Like, it doesn't take rocket science to realize, like, oh yeah, this defense can be really bad. So, or maybe they'll just somehow be better because that's how football is. I don't know. Yeah. So Demario Douglas, we've talked about a lot, is like really the only other guy that I think about starting. I want to take a shot on him this week. Like, just maybe I'm getting hyped up because everyone's talking about him and stuff like that. He's a rookie. Like, I just think with Kendrick Bourne going down, and he kind of can play that slot role that kind of fits Mac Jones's game a little bit.
Devontae Barker is banged up too, so and he didn't practice today. So
yeah, I think he has a concussion. So yeah, I want to start him. I really do. I don't know where you're at. I know you're probably a little more hesitant about him.
Yeah, not super excited. I mean, I know that you're not necessarily either, like, because the way we're kind of talking about him, but like, I don't know, desperate times, desperate measures, I guess. Low end flex in 3 receiver leagues. You could definitely do worse. Like, man, like, I'm just thinking about him, like, in terms of like flex position, like which receivers I'm starting him over and everything like that. I don't know, man. I don't.
Well, it's not like this. Like, Kendrick Bourne was a pretty easy start for the last 3 weeks. You know, like,
yeah,
he was wide receiver 12 when they finally decided to start using him again. He was wide receiver 12 over the last 3 weeks. So it's not like this offense can't support someone. So with him gone, I just think there's a lot of targets gone. Demario Douglas was already playing a lot since I think they came off the bye. He was playing he was out there most of the time, and he had 13 targets the last 2 weeks. You have to imagine, logic would say he's going to bump up at least a few targets, right? So they're not going to be, 150 yards, but I'm just hoping he gives me 7 for 80, and maybe a touchdown. So
yeah, I don't know. Juju is back, so like, there's that.
Yeah.
All right, we don't need to talk about this team anymore.
Yeah, we can move on. So, last game, the Bears and the Saints. Another tough one. Tyson Bagent. I always forget if it's Bagent or Bagent, even though I hear it.
I thought it was Badgley.
No, that's the kicker.
Oh yeah, there we go.
That's Michael Badgley, the money badger. No, it's Tyson Bagent. He's starting again.
I don't want to talk smack about like the way players look, because it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black here. But
yeah,
this guy looks like 30 years old in his picture on Sleeper. Like, he does not look like a 23-year-old kid. Like, it looks like he's been through the ringer a little bit.
Yeah, maybe he has. Maybe. But a cool story, but this offense is pretty limited with him there. Like, Deontay Foreman, we talked about. Like, I don't want to start Roschon, even though I like him a lot, but I don't want to start any of these guys really if I can avoid it, just because it's tough. But Foreman, for volume, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm avoiding running backs on this team.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, Foreman with hopefully with some kind of volume, it's going to do well. But he's playing the Saints. Like, this could be a bad matchup.
Yeah, no, I'm avoiding for sure. Yeah.
Although the Saints have given up.
Sorry, Mike. I think we're a little delayed.
Okay, that's fine. We'll figure it out. But I was just saying the Saints have given up over 20 points to ETN, and then the combination of Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor in the last 2 weeks. So there's that. But I don't know. Like, would you start Foreman or Dameon Pierce? Did we already talk about that? Might have.
No, God. Maybe. Yeah, probably Foreman. I don't like it. Man, that those matchups both not too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably Foreman.
Yeah, it's not exciting at all. It's just he's a low end RB, like flex RB3 kind of, So hopefully you don't have to start him. Avoid him if you can. Like this offense just could get dead. Like the Saints defense has the ability to really shut down an offense, so this could happen. DJ Moore, are you just still starting him even though he hasn't done well with Pageant? Like, what are you doing there?
Yeah, I think you're still firing him up. I mean, he's out there every snap, basically. He's still drawing decent target share. Like, it hasn't been pretty, but I don't know who you're starting over him necessarily. Like, this week he's probably... Until we get Justin Fields back or we see something with Bagent, then he's probably like a low-end 2, like, number 3-ish wide receiver. Like, I think you're still starting him, but like you're not super happy about it.
Yeah. That's where I'm at too. You just kind of have to, but if you have to me, he's like a top 24 guy. So if you have 3 guys above him, each week, then you're starting those guys. But I don't think a lot of people do in most leagues. Cole Kmet, again, like I'm fine with still starting him. I think he had 10 catches or something last week. I'm still fine with throwing him out there. Like he's a tight end. Like he's gonna have good or bad games. Doesn't really matter who the quarterback is, to be honest. Like obviously it's better at Fields, but like he could still have a good game. So if you have him, I'm just throwing him out there. So
yeah. He's a guy you don't have to roster 2 tight ends with, I guess, but like you're not going to be happy half the time anyways. Like so, he's a tight end.
Yeah. Like if Trey McBride or Logan Thomas were still on the waivers for whatever reason, I'd drop Kmet and pick up one of those guys. Like I'm fine with that. Like it doesn't mean they're gonna do better than him this week, but like I'm fine. The odds are they probably do, but yeah, I'm fine with like rolling with those guys. So
sure.
Saints, we talked about Carr. We like him this week. I think he can stream. I wanted to stream him in our league, but people hold on to people like guys all the time in our league. It seems like it's like Derek Carr's rostered, like Bobby. What the hell? Yeah. Anyways, but I'd stream him this week. We talked enough about him, I think. But so Kamara, obvious.
Must start.
Fantasy, yeah, it's ridiculous what he's doing. So against the Bears, like he might be the RB1 this week. Where are you at with Olave? Starting him?
I think he's still must start. Like he hasn't had a good game, he hasn't had like a really great game for quite a while. But I mean, even last week, 9 targets. The week before, 15 targets. The week before, 10 targets. It's like you can't get away from that. Like it hasn't been pretty. But there's no way you're not starting Olave.
Yeah, I kind of agree. They need to get him going, so I'm there with you. Michael Thomas, again, I keep saying it. He's literally the safest fantasy player in the game. Like if you need 8 points, start him, and he could catch a touchdown. So, and then you're, super happy. Rashid Shaheed, just want to mention, like, I know it's tough to know when to start him, but if you are in a situation where you're down bad with buys or injuries, you're playing the best team in the league, whatever, and it's like the only way I win is if I get someone like Rashid Shaheed to give me 25 points, throw him in there, man. Like, just do it. Like, do it over even like a Demario Douglas. If you're in that situation, like a Demario Douglas, because he's not going to do that, over Marquise Brown and Michael Thomas in the same game, like, because he could do 3 for 100 and a touchdown. Like
I had to look it up. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but their game is an early game on Sunday, so.
But yeah. But even so, like you can still you can see the writing on the wall sometimes. I know fantasy is crazy, and
yeah, that's true. It's true.
It's more of like a, again, like, do I want to start? The perfect example is like, do I want to start like Michael Thomas or Rashid Shaheed? And it's like, well, if I need the points, like a big game, you're gonna go Shaheed. So, yeah, it would be nice if it was later, but yeah, like he's a dart throw that could hit. So, the tight ends, like I kind of like Taysom Hill and how they're using him. Like, I wanted him in one of our leagues, and like they're giving him 9 carries. They use him around the red zone. He can throw the ball. He can catch here and there. Like he did run less routes because of Juwan Johnson coming back, but like I'm fine with Taysom Hill. Like what other tight end can you say, oh, they're gonna give him eight touches? Like not many. Maybe it's on the ground, not catches, but where are you at with Taysom Hill? Do you still want to avoid him?
Yeah, definitely not excited. Like I think we've talked about quite a few tight ends like that I'd rather start over him. I don't know. Like I feel like there's got to be someone better on your waiver wire, but maybe not. Like Trey McBride, Logan Thomas, Komet, definitely start all those guys over him. I don't know about.
I might start Taysom over Komet.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, like if I have Komet, I'll probably just roll with it. Like there's been 9 in half PPR. There's been 9 20-point games from tight ends this year. One of them's Taysom Hill. Like that's the reality of him. So, like that's what he can give you. And he's been pretty the last few weeks. Like his problem is he's not running routes. They need to keep using him. I think they will though. Like they saw the success of it. Like, and he's just good at running the ball like around the goal line.
Yeah, but they've seen it for like 4 or 5 years at this point, and they still kind of like it's not necessarily in the game plan. It's more like according to like the flow of the game kind of a thing. Like they bring him in when Alvin Kamara gets stuffed at the line 3 times in a row kind of a thing, like just to kind of like give a shot of juice to the offense. So I don't know. Like I feel like he's never like they never plan around using him outside of like a couple of like like they have like a few plays for him, design stuff, like either passing or rushing for sure, which is awesome, but I just feel like it's very game script dependent, and I don't know how much of a fight Chicago is going to really put up. So I don't know.
I feel like we were saying that last year, and then you look at the end of the year, and it's like Taysom Hill's the tight end 5. It's like, oh, I probably should have been starting him all year long over everyone else, basically. Like, I know there's big games in there, but would you rather a 20-point game and then a couple duds, or would you rather just like 3 8-point games? I guess is the question,
Yeah.
Like,
that's something you have to decide yourself, right? Like, because I was kind of, if you're streaming tight end, like it really does depend on the makeup of the rest of your team. Like I got through basically every week up until last week in my my full PPR league with just streaming tight ends. And then I finally hit on Kincaid this last week, so it kind of feels better, with the Dawson Knox injury and everything like that. But like, I was definitely okay with like, all right, I'm just gonna start whoever, and I did start Taysom Hill at least once, maybe twice. As far as like, yeah, he'll probably get me 8, like I'm fine with that kind of a thing. So, yeah.
And again, like the last 3 weeks, they've been using him, and if they get back to actually letting him run routes, then he's super valuable.
Yeah,
like then he's a top 5 tight end, and easily, in my opinion. Like when he was running routes and he was getting 5 and 8 targets when Juwan Johnson was out, and he was getting the ball rushing, and he could throw the ball. Like, yeah, that's just like a gold mine now. Hopefully they get back to that, but I'd still hold on to him and just start him. So. But yeah, we'll finish up there. 5 more games to go. And yeah, as always, like and subscribe. Good luck this week. And we'll catch you guys next time.